How's everyone doing tonight? Y'all look fantastic. All right, so let me see if I can. Okay, I don't think it comes off. I'm just gonna tell y'all a little bit about myself and camp community and how it's impacted my life. So let's get into it. So first, a little bit about me. The program has a little bit of information, but some key things I wanted to highlight. One, I grew up here in Fort Worth. I went to TVS for 13 years. Second, I'm mixed. I'm biracial. I'm half Chinese. I'm half white. And as Rick mentioned, I went to Camp Community in 2018, and I came back as a counselor in 2023. There's a photo of me in New York. That was just last weekend. That was for a Lunar New Year celebration. So yeah, I was having fun there. Yeah. So I want to start off with my first camp in 2018. There you can see our group photo. It was a lovely group. We had like 40 delegates, a lot of friends that I still talk to this day. And there on the left, that's me and Haley. We were in a heritage group together, and we did a presentation on Chinese heritage. We were the only two Asian kids at camp that year. But I remember the way I found out about camp was a few weeks before camp. You know, I was 16, it was summer, I was, lounging around the house, whatever. My dad comes to me, he says, "Oh, you're going to," well, my dad, who's right there, tonight. Yeah. So he comes to me and he says, "Oh, you're going to Camp Community." And I was like, "Camp Community? What's that?" He was like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm on the board, You'll have a great time, I promise." I was like, I'm 16 at the time. I'm like, the board of what? I didn't know he was on the board of anything. And so I'm like, the board, that just sounds boring. I don't think I want to go, Dad. And, he says to me, "Well, you don't have a choice." So that was the end of that conversation. And so a few weeks later, I got on the bus. I went to Camp Community. I didn't know anyone going into it. I didn't do any research beforehand, which I probably should have. But so I went in with an open mind, and I remember on Friday, on the last day, my dad picked me up from camp. And I got in the car. He asked me, "Well, how was camp?" And I said, "Well, I think that just changed my life." So, yeah. Needless to say, I had a great time at camp. And I want to talk about a few of the key takeaways that I had from it. So, first, one of the biggest things I learned, I remember very distinctly my family group leader at camp, he stressed the importance of getting outside of your comfort zone. And this was something that really resonated with me. And to this day, I still practice getting outside of my comfort zone. And it's been such a service to me in my life and my growth, my development. And so camp really gave me the courage to step outside of my comfort zone and showed me that I had that strength within me. Secondly, it revealed the similarities between people rather than the differences. And, at camp, there's a lot of different people, a lot of different delegates from a lot of different backgrounds. I mean, I went to TVS for 13 years. Let's just say it's a bit of a sheltered community there, to say the least. So, I was exposed to a lot of different people, a lot of different delegates from different backgrounds, different neighborhoods. But the important takeaway from camp is that, once we got past kind of the boundaries of, what we look like and what we like to do and where we come from, and we started talking about, our real deep emotional issues with each other, we found that we had so much in common, and that I had so much in common with every person at camp and with the world around me. I mean, this was a huge takeaway for me. Like, it didn't matter, what someone looked like, act like, dress like, talk like, where they're from, their cultural background, racial background, traditions, heritage. I had so much in common with everyone. Lastly, it helped me express my emotions in a way I never had before. I was 16. it was an angsty time, I suppose, to say the least. I was going through a lot, and I was feeling a lot of feelings. I didn't know how to put words to it, and getting into family discussions and talking with other people going through the same things, it really helped me a lot. I remember specifically, I want to talk a little bit about, at that time, I was struggling a lot with my biracial identity. As I said before, I'm half Chinese, half white. But it made me feel very isolated. I mean, at school, I was the only person of my background. And then with my families, on my white side, I was the only Chinese person there. And on my Chinese side, I'm the only white person there. So it's like, I was struggling a lot, and I want to show some photos. So there on the left, that's my mom's family. My mom is here tonight, my lovely mother. Round of applause, please, for my mother, yes. And my grandmother is there as well. My grandmother's here tonight, Shirley Gandy, my lovely grandmother. So yeah, you can see me there. I'm sitting on the steps, kind of on the bottom there, on the bottom right, and my sister's next to me. But as you can see, me and my sister, we're the only two Chinese people in that whole side, So it's kind of, it was isolating for me. And then on the right side, I have my dad's side of the family. That's just a small part of it. And I'm sitting there on the left in the t-shirt. My sister's there in the middle. My dad's behind me. But from this, in this photo, we look a little more like that side of the family. But growing up in Texas, there's not a lot of Chinese people here, especially Fort Worth. So we were not as, I would say, immersed in the culture as the other side of, like that side of the family is from New York, Toronto. I mean, huge Asian populations there. And, they had practiced all these traditions, and me and my sister, we weren't as familiar with them. We, growing up here, I mean, I was playing t-ball, But anyway, so at 16, I was feeling really divided, and I felt like I didn't fit in anywhere, even with the people I was supposed to feel the closest to, my family, my blood. And this was something I struggled with for a while, but luckily the tools and the things I learned at camp really gave me the ability to process those emotions and finally get to a place where I am now today, where I'm so appreciative for my background, and I wouldn't change a thing about my life and about who I am and where I'm from. I mean, I'm so grateful to be half Chinese and half white. I can show the white side some of my Chinese traditions, a little lo mein and some Lunar New Year celebrations, and vice versa on the Chinese side. So that brings me to now. Just last summer, I had the opportunity to come back as a counselor. There you can see some photos in the middle. That's our group photo. We had such a lovely group. There on the right is one of my favorite photos from camp. This must have been probably Wednesday, so these delegates had only known each other about 48 hours, and at lunchtime they would put all the tables together. They would push them together so everyone could eat together, and I thought that was really special, really sweet. Then finally on the left there, that's me with my heritage group. We were the Multicultural Heritage Group, and actually I had the opportunity to give a talk at camp about being multiracial, and the point of that, well, I kind of I mentioned some of the things that I've just mentioned tonight, and I really talked, one was to resonate maybe with some multicultural delegates. I had 3 there in my group. I was hoping maybe I could shed some light on my experience to maybe help them, show them the light at the end of the tunnel, and also for the other delegates that maybe are not biracial or mixed, just to kind of expand their horizons and understand the world around them and the people around them. But at this camp, I mean, I had such a wonderful time, And I think I learned just as much from my second camp as I did on my first one. So I want to talk a bit about the impacts from that camp. So first, I experienced a whole new level of leadership. You know, as a 21, now 22-year-old, I had not had a lot of responsibility in my life, to say the least. And, you know, Cheryl really put her faith in me to be a good camp counselor, family group leader, cabin group leader. You know, I gave my talk. I was photographer, AV guy. It was a lot of responsibility, but I was so proud to be able to have that on my shoulders and to be able to fulfill those responsibilities, which I hope I did a good job. I think I did. Yeah, second, I realized that I was a role model. This was really special for me because, you know, I kind of went into my second camp thinking, I kind of had the mindset of a delegate, of a camper. I'm thinking, you know, because I'm still young, I'm a student. I kind of went into it expecting to learn, you know. And slowly over the course of the week, I realized that I was not there to learn, but I was there to teach. And that was a big realization for me, the fact that I have something to teach for these delegates. And it was really special to have the delegates look up to me and for me to be a good leader to them and hopefully leave some sort of positive impact for them, because I learned so much at camp, and I'm so grateful for what I learned at my camp. So I just hope the best that I could, you know, impart the same wisdom on them, on the next generation. And that brings me right to my last point, is that it really just, it filled my heart up all the way to the top to give back to the community that gave so much to me. You know, I learned so much from camp, and I'm so grateful to have had it be a part of my life, so it felt amazing to just give back to that same community. That brings me just to my last reflections on camp, you know, from 2018 to now 2024. Camp has really made me realize my courage, my strength as an individual. I'm able to step outside of my comfort zone and grow, and I'm able to be a leader. This has been huge for me. I mean, it's incredible. It's an incredible feeling. Second, it's led me to celebrate my identity. You know, for so long, I struggled a lot with my biracial identity and fitting in. I felt isolated and alone for a long time. But thanks to camp community and the things I've learned there, I've learned to love myself and embrace myself. And now today I feel more comfortable in my skin than I ever have in my life. You know, all the things that were burdens in high school and adolescence, now I realize that they're blessings. And I'm so glad for them. And lastly, and most importantly, I have been warmly welcomed into the wonderful community that is the Multicultural Alliance. All of you here tonight know how wonderful an organization this is, and I'm just so glad to be a part of it. Thank you all for listening.